Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal the International. I'm called Maureen. We'll begin with our top stories. Being a tense Wednesday in Douala, Cameroonians said to have given endless efforts for the success of the African Cup of Nations have been on strike. Most of them, drivers and others, said to have worked in stadiums throughout the competition, are claiming payments of their labor during the one-month competition. And parliamentarians are advocating for the creation of another parliamentary group at the National Assembly. This is ongoing against the backdrop that, for the first time since the introduction of multi-party politics in 1992, and the National Consumers Movement has challenged the Cameroonian policymakers to seek alternative measures to curb the rising inflation in the Cameroonian markets. Those are major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more. Parliamentarians are advocating for the creation of another parliamentary group at the National Assembly. This is ongoing against the backdrop that for the first time since the introduction of multi-party politics in 1992, the National Assembly is faced with democratic challenge of having one parliamentary group today to the people's representatives is not democratic at all. Honorable Joshua Osi of the SDF party, let's follow his interview.
The fact of being formed in a group gives us a much bigger standing than if we stand individually. So it's in the interest of the Cameroonian people, of our nation, of our democracy, to have two strong groups in parliament who can oppose each other in order to enhance our democracy and enhance policy making, our laws, and the control of government action. So we think it's a legitimate move, it's a legal and legitimate move to put in place a second parliamentary group so that we can have a real political debate in Parliament as from now. And so we're happy we were able to come together to agree on our public declaration and our joint public declaration, and as well to stay steadfast. And today we are overwhelmed by the warm welcome we've received, not only by the Cameroonian public at large, but also by our colleagues in Parliament.
And it's been a tense Wednesday in Douala, said to have, would come as Cameroonians said to have given in endless efforts for the success of the African Cup of Nations, have been on a strike. Most of them, drivers and others, said to have worked in stadiums throughout the competition, are claiming payment of their labor during the one-month competition. They are said to have gathered at the governor's office in the Littoral region this Wednesday to make their grievances known. Come back to that in a subsequent edition of Newscast. And teachers in the Mongo division have expressed dissatisfaction in the saying engaging in the very high institution as is often used in Cameroon. They say they are tired of authorities saying the same thing every day with no concrete actions. More on that story with our reporter, Stephanie Chin.
Despite information that has been broadcast on television,
inspire ethnic communities in the far north region of Cameroon and those detained as a result of the intertribal conflicts that oppose the Muslim and Arab Ashwa have been schooled on the importance of peaceful coexistence. This was during an awareness tour by members of the Human Rights Commission who were also in the far north region to witness cases of human rights abuses. More on the story with our reporter Gladys Ambo Tiba.
With recurrent reports on cases of human rights violations in the far north region of Cameroon, the president of the National Commission for Human Rights and Freedom, James Mwange Kobila, and his honorary members thought it was time to once again raise awareness on human rights and ensure they are respected. From their visit to administrative services to detention centers, members of the commission got abreast with the situation of female detainees.
We have taken note of some abnormalities, and those abnormalities we think that we are going to do some reporting to the offices that are in charge to try to do corrections. We know that they are quite, the density is a bit more than should be per room. We know that there are different categories of women who are in the cells, and legally and by rights of gender issues and right issues, you cannot put, civil people who are incarcerated for civil offenses with people of terrorism.
At the Kuseri main prison, where the commission members made a stopover, they had talks with suspects of the intertribal conflicts that oppose the Muslims fishermen to Shua Arab headers, and later met with the ethnic communities to school them on the need for peaceful coexistence. During the 3-day visits, women in Bogo were also educated on the importance of establishing birth certificates for their children.
We stay in the far north region of Cameroon, precisely in Marwa, at the Kolofata District Hospital, where the health personnel have been applauded for their endless efforts to ensure better health for the population. The Minister of Public Health gave them an assurance during a visit to the site to that district hospital. More on the story with our reporter Stephanie Chin.
Visiting the Kolofata District Hospital in the Far North region, the Public Health Minister instructed the top management to put in efforts to improve the monitoring of pregnant women in order to reduce postpartum mortality rate. He promised the reinforcement of laboratory equipment, the provision of a device for electrophoresis examinations and incubators, recruitment of health personnel, a dental surgeon as a priority.
We have to provide them with the logistics in order to do this work and job very well. So I think we don't have mainly until now sufficiently the cars, but we are going to work in order to have each one car for each of head of district center. So I think it's a very, very good thing.
The minister congratulated the director and his collaborators on cleanliness and good performance. So far, the Kolofata District Hospital has vaccinated 9,000 persons against COVID-19. Taking another tour to the Marwa Referral Hospital, the minister frowns and summons the company in charge of the execution of work in the hospital for an incomplete task. He pointed out that other reference hospitals in other regions where work commenced at the same time as that of Marwa are already operational.
And calm has returned to Fungam subdivision after the assassination of the Fawn of Usu in the northwest region of Cameroon. On the heels of the killing of the Fawn, the commander of the 5th Joint Military Region, Brigadier General Cavalier, met the people of the Menchum Division. Details in the following report on how the general is fostering development in that area. More with Kejan Henry Atembe.
Along the road leading to Bafmen, a village in Fungam subdivision northwest of Cameroon, were villagers singing praises to the military at the arrival of General Valenka, commander of the 5th Joint Military Region, at the Bafmen Health Center, where the military has been consulting and administering free treatment since March 9, 2022. The villagers expressed satisfaction.
Since on Wednesday, we are receiving free medication. Free consultation, and all our fathers, our mothers, We are very, very happy.
The visit of General Valenka from March 10 to 12, 2022 falls within the context of the civilo-military action in the division, coming on the heels of the assassination of the son of Isu and wife by armed men.
Let me ask you to strongly advise your boys who are sick, who are our children, to come out of the bush and lay down their guns. I stand here strong to reassure those still in the bushes and who wish to lay down their weapons but are scared of being killed by soldiers, that nothing will happen to them.
As soon as he arrived to Wung, the capital of the mentioned division, General Valenka held talks with the senior divisional officer, Abdullahi Aliu, the elites and the traditional authorities, as well as local government chairperson, Mayor Anthony Dingambong.
We appeal to the general that we need the creation of the military detachment unit in Aba, in Gayama, as far as Upper Fungom is concerned, and in Bafmen.
Funds and Aldos and the population have called for security beef up to definitely block the way from separatist fighters, calling on the creation of a police post to facilitate the acquisition of national identity cards. The civilo-military action led to the creation of borehole to provide potable water to the population. Meantime, benches and didactic materials were handed to 4 schools to encourage them to go to school. On the agricultural part, farm tools and inputs were provided to women by the Northwest Development Mission, Midino. General Valenka used the opportunity to encourage the population to live in peace. Peace and unity football and handball games were organized to commit the young people to work for the return to normalcy.
The National Consumers Movement has challenged policymakers in Cameroon to seek alternative measures to curb the rise in inflation in the Cameroonian market. The high prices becoming a veritable problem for all Cameroonians. And the president of the movement, Roland Go-Isi, who doubles as an MP, says they are taking the fight for the rights of consumers at the level of the National Assembly. Haisencha completes that story.
The prices of some basic commodities keep skyrocketing in the Cameroonian markets. Most often, consumers are found stranded with the new prices as their budgets appear quite less. The worst of the inconveniences arise from the epileptic electricity supply and the frequent water cuts. The consumers usually face with exorbitant bills that do not match their consumption. The continuous damages caused by such energy supply as a result of the daily blackout quite enormous. It is against this backdrop that the National Consumers Movement is crying out loud that the powers that be seek lasting solutions to protect the rights of the consumers, a fight the MPs are ready to champion at the National Assembly during this session of Parliament.
Nous allons déposer nos questions orales avec les nouveaux éléments que nous avons.
We are going to table it for deliberation at the National Assembly with all the elements we have gathered. We have worked with the electricity suppliers and other enterprises that have permitted us to have elements that we didn't have. We have to fight with national interests, and we hope they will listen to us. We are few, but we shall keep insisting, and one day they will understand.
Mais nous espérons que, à force d'insister, peut-être un jour, ils comprendront.
The movement equally reiterates that many consumers keep filing in tons of complaints against the electricity suppliers.
And the Cameroon Consumers Network has embarked on a sensitization through an aggressive media campaign vised to help consumers off the hooks of scammers. This is done in sidelines of the 39th edition of World Consumers Day, commemorated every March 15. More with Saleh Sharifa.
Consumers, especially the most vulnerable, are exposed to a vulnerable scamming. They easily fall prey to hackers. In order to help consumers off the hooks of scammers, the Cameroon Consumer Network has embarked on a sensitization through an aggressive media campaign.
Level of bad transportation of this energy, whenever it is, and a very questionable way of utilizing this energy. So we have a lot of difficulty with the government, who is in charge of clarification as far as the energy is concerned. But we asking the consumers to be fair, to report any problem that they have to our consumers association so that we can relay the problem to the service providers.
The campaign is organized on sidelines of the 39th edition of World Consumer Rights Day, celebrated every 15th of March with this year's theme, Fair Digital Finance. This took place in the economic capital of Cameroon.
We have receiving all type of complaints from consumers, and we're making efforts to address the issues with the service provider. That's why we organized this day of today, this sharing of today, so that you people can relay and ask the consumer to take these responsibilities and report all the dysfunction of what you can imagine in their homes.
Every consumer needs to know their rights in order to know when they are getting cheated or fooled, and more importantly, when they can raise objections against any purchase of a product or service.
And that report brings us to the end of this edition of Newscast on Canal International. Thanks so much for watching. We have news in the French language at exactly this 9h50. À l'Engislenkanga, but coming up next is the brief with Lil Pigeon. So me will be back same time tomorrow. Good night. Canal International.